This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Whether you're packing for a vacation or dressing for a wedding, Nordstrom has head-to-toe looks for wherever summer takes you. From swimwear and bold color to romantic florals and dresses that make an entrance, find the right style for every unforgettable moment. Shop new arrivals from brands you love like Farm Rio, Free People, Vince, Wait, and Stod. Plus free shipping and returns and styling help whenever you need it make it all so easy. Shop now in stores at Nordstrom.com or download the Nordstrom app.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
In my opinion, these are the cryptids that are most likely to be real, okay? Number one is going to be Bigfoot. A lot of people always say, well, where are the bodies at? Why wouldn't we find them? Do you guys not realize that, like, gorillas are just recently a discovered thing? Like, when the movie King Kong came out and it was so famous, that was because we just officially discovered gorillas. Like, for centuries, people were like, yeah, there's gorillas up in the mountains. And we're like, no, there's not. No, there's not. There was. Okay, the other thing is people always say, well, we would have been digging up bones, we'd find the bodies. I don't know if you all are aware how quickly things decompose in the woods, and like wild gorillas and wild chimpanzees and stuff, they bury each other. Like, they literally bury each other. And they have like funerals and stuff. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty crazy. Now, the supernatural part of it, if you believe what the Native Americans believe about Bigfoot, and what a lot of people are now all saying as well, is that he can cloak himself. He's an interdimensional being. He's almost more of like a spirit that can come and go into our reality. And a lot of people say that that's why he is not photographed well. Everybody's always like, oh, the photos are always blurry. It's always this. And a lot of other people are saying that's just how Bigfoot looks. He looks blurry. Like the little boy that I did the story on that supposedly got taken by Bigfoot and then was later recovered. He talked about the fuzzy people. And he said, not fuzzy like Harry, fuzzy like TV static. And it might be because they're not always in our plane of existence. I think that's honestly my favorite theory about it. People talk about the Glimmer Man, which is a whole separate cryptid event, creature, human. But a lot of people say that Glimmer Man and Bigfoot are the same thing. Which, if you haven't seen Glimmer Man, I'll do that next. Glimmer Man is like when you're in the woods or you see a photo, or sometimes it happens in the middle of cities. You'll just see like an area that is blurry, almost like, when you're watching TV and they blur out like a kid's face or somebody who didn't want to be photographed, they blur their face out. You'll see like an area that looks like that. I did a video the other night talking about how on the trees behind my house one time I could see this like blurry spot, and I was like, what? At first I thought something was on the window, and then I was like, no, that's not on the window. That's like that tree, like that spot is blurry for some reason. Could never figure it out. I talked about it a little bit on here, and so many people had that encounters with like blurry, fuzzy, something just wasn't right and distorted place. And sometimes people see it moving. Sometimes people see it just stay in one spot. The most famous story of one moving was the story of a lady that was out hiking or deer hunting, and the whole town saw a UFO at a football game. It's actually one of the most well-documented UFO sightings. And this lady was like hiking or hunting somewhere near this football stadium. It's a small town. And around that time it was reported, she actually saw a blurry figure jumping from the trees, like from one tree to the other, almost kind of exactly like the movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So that's another one. The other one that I've really got on here is Mothman. Mothman is seen so many times, and there's been so many times that people have came together and said, oh, we saw Mothman, and there's like these mass Mothman sightings, and then like a horrible tragedy happens immediately after. Like a mass casualty event, like really bad car wrecks on the bridge that he gets sighted on, or wherever he gets sighted. There's like a bridge collapse one time where he was sighted on there. And he's been sighted so many times in the same general area for like almost 100 years. They even have a statue of the dude. People come from all over the country to see him. And of course they're playing into it for tourist stuff, but at the end of the day, there's always like a note of truth in every like rumor or conspiracy or, whatever. And I think that it's pretty wild that he's been so commonly reported so many times, and the description has pretty much always stayed the same. And it's never like he's really doing anything. It's almost like he's an ominous figure. Like if you see him, something bad's about to happen. It's a pretty strange rabbit hole to go down if you want to look up the Mothman conspiracies and tragedies and things. Speaking of tragedies and horrible stuff, the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil is, I think, possibly where just somebody successfully summoned a demon. If you look in the Jersey Devil, I'm not going to get into it on here because the video will likely get flagged because it's so gruesome and so horrific. Of the true events, like the real story event that inspired like what happened next, which is what we now know of as the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil, most people describe it as like a very slender, almost dog-like creature that has wings, but it's very tall, almost like, imagine like a very lanky, withered werewolf that has wings and the ability to fly. But a lot of people also describe it as having the head of a goat. There's varying details on here. I hear a lot of goat, man, winged creature type stuff, but anyhow, it has been so consistently cited in that area, and the true events that did happen, I'm like, well, they might have just really summoned something. They might have been successful there. The next one is Green Eyes. So if you guys haven't seen Old Green Eyes or heard about Old Green Eyes, I don't think that Old Green Eyes is the right depiction to call it. I think that was just one of a species of what's called a fear eater. If you've never heard of fear eaters, they're essentially things that are almost like dark shadow type figures, ominous figures. Sometimes they have physical manifestations and shapes. Sometimes they can look humanoid. Sometimes they appear as like dogmen. But most of the time it's just like a dark shadowy figure. And they don't really seem to ever want to harm you or do anything to you except make you scared. If they chase you, they're never going to catch you. It's just, they don't want you to eat. They want your emotions to eat. And Old Green Eyes is the most famous fear eater, I guess. If you look at the stories of the Civil War, this is before internet, this is before newspapers, this is before telephones even. And Old Green Eyes was reported amongst so many different camps that would have not had communication with each other, spread far apart. I mean, like the exact same, it gets really creepy when you start looking at all the old actual written down journal logs of Green Eyes. So Old Green Eyes, apparently after a battle would be done, like say the Battle of Gettysburg is a famous place where he was seen at. After the battle was done, there's thousands of dead soldiers on the field or wounded soldiers on the field. And he would be seen hovering over the ones that were still clinging to life, but they were eventually going to die. And it was like it was almost like he would be sucking just that fear and terror and trauma. I mean, imagine laying there knowing you're going to die. I can't imagine how scared you'd be, the sorrow you would have, and apparently this cloaked black figure, almost like made out of smoke, would kind of float over these bodies. And the only physical description people would describe is neon bright green eyes. That's where he got his name, Old Green Eyes. And people would talk about how he would be lurking there. Like the night before a battle, people would report seeing him hiding among the trees, just waiting for the bloodshed to start. But also, the night before a battle, everybody's scared, everybody's tense. And it was like he was just drawing off that energy. Some people said that he might have even been spurring that energy to make it worse, to make people more aggressive and more, inclined to violence. So Old Green Eyes is definitely up there on my list. These aren't really cryptids. These are creatures that were, once to believe to be extinct, but I think could definitely still be out there. And it's the Kraken, and Megalodon, all of those big, giant prehistoric creatures. If you guys didn't know, they did find the skeleton of what we now know would be the legendary Kraken the other day. Like that's no longer a myth that the Kraken exists. That's just a real fact we now have to live with, because they found the sediment remains of a octopus. Before you guys come and attack me that octopus don't have bones, they can't leave fossils, you're going to really trip out when you figure out that we have fossils of like plants and leaves and all kinds of stuff that don't have bones. Bones are not required to make fossils. You're getting skeletons and fossils completely mixed up. And then also the Megalodon, I think that they could be deep into the trenches. I think when we talk about hearing the Blue 52 sounds, like there's just so much stuff out there in the world that we don't know anything about, that we pretend that we do. And scientists do not like to say, we don't know. They like to say, yeah, we know exactly that this can't be real. Like there was a fish off the coast of Africa that they thought was extinct for like...
You said this place was steps from the water.
We just haven't found the steps yet.
How much did we save?
Enough.
Enough to get lost?
Or you could book a stay with Hilton. welcome to your oceanfront room, just steps from the water.
The Hilton sale is on now. Book on Hilton.com or the Hilton app and save up to 20% to get the stay you expected. When you want savings, not surprises, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
150,000 years, like something stupid. And then now we know that like they're still alive and there's like a decent population of them. We just didn't see them. And this fish was like not a small fish. Like this is a damn near human-sized fish. And there's like not even like a few of them, and they're not even that deep. There's a lot of them, and they're just in this one spot now. It's just, we always pretend like we don't know that, we always pretend like we know everything. It's just so stupid. Regional variance is another thing that, like, that kind of sounded like I was talking about Pokemon, but we always talk about like how, if there was a Bigfoot, they'd be everywhere. Or if there was a this or that, it would be everywhere. There was a Jersey Devil, it'd be everywhere. No. There are tons of creatures that we know of that only exist in very, 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 very minute places. There's a whole species of fish that only lives in one cave in the entire world, and the pool that this fish lives in is like maybe 30 feet, like 40 feet. Like it is this, like, it's a glorified puddle, right? And that's the only place in the world this species of fish lives, and we know it lives there. Like, scientists go there and check them out. It's a very, very, very protected area. But there's like a cave in this desert that holds water, and the species of fish has been isolated to this one puddle. Like you could wipe out its entire existence by going in there with a vacuum cleaner, and they're done. Like it is that minute of a population. So when people get this in their head that if this cryptid was over here, it'd be everywhere. No, it wouldn't. It is very, very, very possible for there to be a very perfect biome for a creature to live in, and it can't live anywhere else. So get that out of your head, like the Himalayan mountains, for example, and they talk about the Yetis and stuff. I'm not really sold that a Yeti is a Bigfoot. A lot of people say, Yeti's just like the snow variant of the Bigfoot. And I'm not sold on that. I think the Yeti is probably a physical snow monkey, snow gorilla, whatever you want to call it. And people are like, primates couldn't live up there. Yeah, they can. Like, there's a whole species of monkeys that lives up there that like just gets in the hot springs when they get cold. In the high up in the mountains and stuff. Like there are all kinds of creatures that can survive extreme temperatures that their very close relatives and cousins cannot. For example, you cannot get a beaver will not freeze to death. A capybara will freeze to death at 60 degrees. At 55 degrees. So, you take two creatures that are very closely related that have two different biomes that they can live in, so once again, look at real life animals for cryptid info, and you can match a lot of it up. Really cool. Loch Ness Monster. I think it's up there. I don't know if you guys know about the Loch Ness Monster stuff with the, Loch Ness, the lake. That lake is really the ocean. That it connects to the ocean. They have found whale DNA and dolphin DNA and like squid DNA in Loch Ness. And what that means is that wherever the whale or dolphin was peeing and pooping at or whatever, it was somehow getting into Loch Ness, which means Loch Ness is connected somehow to the ocean. And we still don't know exactly how it's connected to the ocean. So if we can't even figure out how the sumbitch is connected to the ocean, we can't say what is in there and what is not in there. Loch Ness is so deep that at the bottom of it, it's pitch black. It's pitch black dark. You can't even see down there. Like even if you get a submarine go around there, pitch black, can't see. And it's a very dark colored water anyhow. So I really do think that Loch Ness and Loch Ness Monster has at least a possibility. I'm not saying that I'm 100% saying it's in there. Of course not. I'm just saying if we can't even figure out how this thing connects to the ocean, we have no idea what could come and go or what deep pocket of the ocean this could be connected to. We have no idea, right? We have no idea. We know that a lot of large aquatic creatures can live an extraordinarily long life. So the Loch Ness Monster we know of today might be the one freaking plesiosaur left over that knows the route to get in there and goes through that route all the time and hangs out. We don't know. And we always pretend that we have all the answers, and we don't. How can you say there's no Loch Ness Monster, and then you ask the same scientist, well, how does that connect to the ocean? They're like, we don't know. Okay, so you don't know anything, really, because if you can't find one big-ass tunnel in Lake Loch Ness, then you can't find the Loch Ness Monster. Okay? That's just as simple as that. Now, moving on, other supernatural creatures that I think can be real that are like cryptids. I'm not talking about demons and spirits and all that kind of stuff right now, because I think fear eaters, like I talked about a minute ago, can take a very physical form. I don't think that's just purely a spirit or a demon. I'm talking about creatures that have a physical form. And that's going to go to the chupacabra next. Chupacabras, I think, are a real species that we have just not identified yet. As a wildlife expert, I have looked at way too many reports of animals that have had their blood drained. Down there, it just doesn't make sense. It's one of the only places in the world where animals routinely have their blood drained, and we can't explain why. And, is that a creature that's doing that? I would think so. It's probably a very isolated population of creatures. Who knows? I mean, for example, take a coatimundi. A coatimundi is a South American raccoon, essentially. Central American raccoon. And they'll take an egg, and they'll take their long nails, and they'll actually poke a hole in the eggshell and suck the yolk out of the egg, and the egg looks completely undisturbed. And the reason why they do this is when the birds aren't watching their nest, or the reptiles aren't watching their nest, they'll poke a hole in the egg yolk and suck the egg yolk out, so that way when the bird comes back, it doesn't know that any of its eggs have been damaged, so it will continue to lay eggs there. This is a very tricky way for a coatimundi to keep getting eggs out of the same nest instead of smashing all the eggs and then the bird moving on somewhere else. It can routinely visit this nest over and over again when the mama bird or the mama reptile is not watching. So think about that. They poke a hole in it, and they're so delicate with it, they don't break an eggshell. Now imagine an animal that is just bigger that has the attributability to be able to suck blood out, after making a small puncture hole, which is exactly what tons of reports have filled in. And I'm not just talking farmer reports. I'm talking biologists have gone down there, checked it out, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't know what that is. In there for a while, I was pretty positive they were going to say the chupacabra was real, and it was a subspecies of coyotes. But then they kind of backpedaled on that, and then there's really been no talk about it since. I don't think it's like some kind of crazy lizard creature. I really do think it's some creature that has just adapted the way it eats and what it wants to eat. And the same creature could be responsible for killing chickens and cattle and eating them in the conventional way as well. That just might be just something weird they do sometimes. That's just a theory I've got. Okay. Do I think that reptilians are real and lizard people? That is one that I've never bought into. Never bought into reptilians or lizard people. A lot of people like to talk about it, the Dracoven or whatever they like to say it is. I don't like that one. I don't think it's plausible. I don't think it's real. I think if there looks like there's lizard people, I think it's just some kind of deep fake cosmetics that we use. I don't think that Justin Bieber's a lizard, or like these other people are reptilians. Now, could they be all in some kind of like ancient bloodline that stick together and watch out for their own? 100%. I definitely, if you go down rabbit holes of like celebrities, no matter how humble their beginnings seem, you can almost always link them to another either famous person or rich person that's not famous, but they're rich. Like almost every single time, if you dig deep enough, like you'll find a way that they had a connection on the inroad there. Not saying they're all that way. Just saying that, like, we did multiple videos of how they're all like for example, almost all the presidents we've ever had are related to each other. Like even George Bush and Barack Obama are literally cousins. Like they're literally cousins. Sarah Palin is also their cousin. Brad Pitt is Obama's cousin. It's George Bush's cousin too. Like you want to go down that rabbit hole, it is super weird. So do I think reptilians are real? No. Do I think that there is some ancient bloodline that sticks together and watches out for themselves and makes sure that they're the only ones in the inner circle? Yeah, I definitely think that can happen there. I think that's part of it. Vampires, let's talk about the big ones. Let's talk about vampires. Do I think vampires are real? Yes. I think that vampires, I don't have the same thought that you guys are going to have about the vampires though. I really do think at some point our government made a deal with vampires, and that's what the U.S. National Park systems are. I think U.S. National Park systems are dedicated marked off hunting grounds for vampires. That's why people go missing there sometimes and are never found, or they're found in really mysterious ways. Because I think that was areas for them to say, okay, let's not make a major city here. Let's let them have their hunting grounds. Kind of like when you watch Twilight and they have like the treaty of where they're allowed to hunt and where they're not allowed to hunt. And I think it's like, hey, they've got their hunting grounds. We're going to lose some hikers here and there. Those people are kind of crazy anyhow. Who wants to get up at 5 a.m. and go, march around for 20 hours in the heat? We can afford to lose those people. And everybody else, you just leave them alone. If they're in the city, you leave them alone. If they're in town, you leave them alone. If they're on their farms, leave them alone. They go in the national parks, they want to hike for no freaking reason, yeah, take them out, okay? I think that's kind of what we did at some point in time with the deal with vampires. It's strange. I know I've got a weird view on it. That's my take on it. Okay, werewolves. Do I think werewolves are real? No. I'm not a big werewolf fan. I'm a Dogman fan all day. I think those are two very different things. Do I think that there are some kind of apex wolves out there? Yeah, I'll buy into that. We did whole stories about the Beast of Godot and, all these different mega wolves that used to exist. Like, people don't realize that mega wolves used to exist. And when I say mega wolves, I'm not talking dire wolves. I'm talking mega wolves. And what a mega wolf is a wolf that has supernatural intellect. And I don't mean supernatural. It's just a wolf that's way above average intelligence. There was a single wolf in France, and they knew this wolf. It was a big female wolf. It was the leader of its pack. She took out over 50 people, and most of them were armed. She had scars all over. I mean, something like out of an anime or a movie or something. And they knew her. Like, she was given a nickname. I mean, and she was just taking out people left and right. Like, they literally went to war with these packs of wolves. And you don't see super wolves anymore, really. And I think that's why we hunted them so much. And I really do think that's why the government kind of doesn't. I want to go ahead and say this. The government really doesn't care about wolf populations. If they did, they would be handling things way different. I think they kind of realized that wolves had the ability to get extremely intelligent and would systematically hunt down people. Like the Beast of Govando or whatever that is. I can't pronounce it right. That wolf killed like hundreds of people. Like hundreds. That singular wolf killed hundreds of people. And a lot of times this is where the stories of werewolves come from, is when wolf populations were huge. Now, I wish that wolves were still flourishing. Do not get me wrong. I'm all for animals. That's our thing, obviously. We have resident wolves that live here with us. But I can see where they're coming from. Like, wolves were the only routinely animal that was like hunting people down. Like in the European days, oh my God, Europe still exists, obviously. In the medieval days, like over in Europe, like it was pretty common for your village to literally be plagued by wolves. Like, wolves would find a village and they would stalk that village until all the kids were gone, essentially. Like, go ahead and look it up for yourself. There are so many reports of like major wolf casualties back like 300 and 400 years ago. Like, a lot of them. And I think that's where the story of Little Red Riding Hood and all that stuff comes from, is they're literally tales about why you shouldn't go in the woods alone, because almost guaranteed a wolf is going to get you. Like, it's going to get you. There's tons of wolves that would singly only eat human babies and children. It was to the point where some of these stories say the wolves would actually come in your windows at night and they would steal the babies out of the cribs. Like, it was that extreme. Not even making that up. Moving on. I went on a long tangent there. Don't hurt wolves. We love them. But a super wolf would be concerning. Okay. Moving on. Do I think that, like, mermaids are real? Our daughter is named after a mermaid, like the original mermaid, Lorelei, which would, like, lure sailors to their death. Now, we now know that Lorelei, the original Lorelei, was a rock off the coast of Ireland. If you haven't seen that rock, it's called Lorelei Rock. The way the wind hits this rock, I mean, I swear to God, it sounds just like a woman going, ah! It sounds like somebody screaming, because the way this rock is shaped, the wind bounces off of it. Sailors, back before all the modern technology of navigation systems and lights, would go looking for a woman that had fallen into the water, and bam, they'd hit Lorelei Rock or the other rocks around Lorelei Rock, and they would sink their ship. And it was like 20 feet off the coast, but the coast was like a straight up and down cliff, so they couldn't even swim to safety there. You couldn't climb it. It was too steep. So Lorelei Rock, it's pretty crazy. Original story of mermaids. Do I think mermaids are real? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I do. I think the whole Gerald the Dolphin thing that happened recently was probably some kind of mermaid shit. I think that we were mermaids a long time ago, like in our evolutionary line. And this, once again, comes from an animal expert, point of view. There's only two animals that sweat, pretty much, and it's us and horses, okay? Pigs roll in mud, dogs pant. Most animals, especially non-primate animals, do not sweat, okay? Humans sweat and horses sweat. You know what else sweats? A fish. You take a fish out of the water, they'll sweat. Yep, that's why they're slimy. All right, so we already know that horses are distant relatives of whales. We know that. If you want to Jesus thump at me about the evolution stuff, go ahead. Whatever. You don't have to. If you believe in God, it doesn't mean that you can't believe in evolution. If you believe in evolution, it doesn't mean you can't believe in God. Who says that God didn't make the plan that way? Go figure. If you're upset about it, go jump in a lake. But I think that at some point we lived in the water way more than we do today. I think we were pretty much always in the water. We have essentially proven that with the way our features work and look and everything else. It's not even up for debate that we used to live way more of our life in the water. In fact, they say that's why sometimes people are still born with webbed toes and webbed fingers, is it's actually a recessive trait from a long time ago when we all had that to make it easier to swim. Okay. People that, like these islanders and stuff that still live and fish like in the water every day have crazy abilities. Like this one dude could hold his breath for like 20 minutes. What the hell? This other guy can dilate his pupils on command, like a muscle. Like you can flex your bicep, this dude can go like, and just like make his pupil dilate so he can see better underwater. It's nuts. It's crazy. So I think that we wouldn't be able to do that stuff if it wasn't. I think like we lost the ability to do that. I think that probably everybody used to be able to do that. So I do think that mermaids are probably just a faction of humans that never adjusted to land life and just kept living that water life, that salt life.
Some things happen fast, like a vacuum finding your lost earring. A dog reacting to the word walk. And settling up with friends on the PayPal app. Send and receive money in seconds. Access your balance to send, shop, pay bills, and more. Download the PayPal app to get started. An account with PayPal is required to send and receive money. A PayPal balance account is required to hold and use a balance.
Girl, winter is so last season. And now spring's got you looking at pictures of tank tops with hungry eyes. Your algorithm is feeding you cutoffs. You're thirsty for the sun on your shoulders. That perfect hang on the patio sundress. Those sandals you can wear all day and all night. And you've had enough of shopping from your couch. Done hoping it looks anything like the picture when you tear open that envelope? It's time for a little in-person spring treat. It's time for a trip to Ross. Work your magic.
Let's see, what can we talk about? Lake monsters and river monsters. Like what we're talking about in that sense is what I think is going to be for another video, which is spiritual creatures and, guardians and stuff. There's a lot of stuff about lake and river spirits that drown people. We'll get into that to the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're not already following the podcast, Matt from Nomads on Spotify, Matt from Nomads on Apple. That's MATT from Nomads. Make sure you're following along on these podcasts. We'll do some more of them if you enjoy this kind of stuff.